And last week we went through, I believe, chapters 41, 42, and 43. And we dealt with Joseph, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know Joseph is the second to the youngest son of Jacob. He is Jacob's favorite son. Why? Somebody said that last week. I believe it was Charles. Why was Joseph Jacob's favorite son? We had a couple of reasons why, I think, but
Because of the wife.
because of the wife. Okay, would you agree?
He was the son of his favorite wife.
Yeah.
He was the son of his favorite wife.
Unfortunately, it was the wife that he had waiting all 7 years to get.
Yes, he was actually there.
His father-in-law
Well,
would
he
have
had-
him over.
He had to work 7 years for both of them.
Yeah.
But
14
he
years
had to work 7 years for the oldest one
old.
first.
Yep.
And
But
he had to
then
work
the Bible says he
He
stayed an extra 7 years
Another-
after all of that.
but
Yeah, another
he got
7
all,
years.
He got all drunk during the wedding thing, and he didn't know who he was going to bed with that night.
Well, it actually didn't say that he was drunk. We can go back and look at
Oh,
it.
they were partying or whatever, so you got to figure wedding and all
But
of
the
that.
Bible doesn't say he was drunk or they partied, but we can assume, right? It's more than one time, I believe, in Scripture where a man lay with a woman and didn't know.
The wedding then over there with her, his mother's relative.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the girls there would after they're being enthralled, they cover their face up, so he doesn't see
Exactly.
he doesn't see who he's marrying.
Exactly.
He thinks it's her because they're the same height and everything, but he thinks, and then as she's going into the hut, they're still holding him and he's drinking and all and partying, and then they bring him in there.
Right.
So he sleeps with her, okay, and when he wakes up, then who are you? You know?
So he woke up and found out that he had Leah instead of Rachel.
Exactly.
But Rachel had Joseph
Mhm.
and Benjamin.
Right.
Benjamin was the youngest son. And so
Mhm.
in chapters 41 through 43, we find out that he is the well, even before that, coming into chapters 41 through 43, we see that he is sold into slavery.
Mhm.
The Ishmaelites came through, bought him. Potiphar bought him from them, and so he's in Potiphar's house. Potiphar's crazy wife tried to sleep with him because he had integrity. She set him up, took his coat, said, "Hey,
Religious conviction.
this Hebrew done mocked us, and so now he's thrown in prison. He does what? He interprets the butler and the baker's dream.
Mhm.
The
Who's gonna live
baker,
and who's gonna die.
yeah, the basket represented 3 days. And I think the other one dreamed something else, but it was in 3 days.
And then he told him, "Remember me."
Yeah.
I'm here.
He said, well, he told the butler, when you get restored, remember me because I'm here unjustly. Did the butler remember? No.
To
But he eventually remembered, right?
Yeah, I think it was Potiphar that told the girl of the kid who can interpret dreams.
No, it was the butler.
The butler.
The butler said, I remember. He said, I remember my fault now.
Yeah, that's right.
And he said, I remember a man when you had me in prison
Mhm.
that interpreted me and the baker's dream. And sure enough, the baker was home, and then I got restored back into your house. He'll interpret your dream for you, right?
That's correct.
So who did he become after he interpreted Pharaoh's dream, Charles?
he became the head man to make sure that everything went right during the 7 years of famine. I mean, the 7 years of plenty.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that too. But he became the governor.
He became the
Yeah.
governor.
He was the
of,
second in charge. Nobody
Yeah.
was over him but Pharaoh.
Right.
That's it. He rode in the what? Second
He
chariot.
He had more power than Potiphar.
That's right. He rode in the second chariot behind Pharaoh.
He was even given a wife.
He was given, and the matter, yeah, that was a good one that I read
They
too.
changed his name.
He gave him power, and he gave him
Pharaoh's ring.
gave him his ring. What does the ring? What does the ring mean when a man gives you a ring like that and that's in power? What is he saying?
Well, you can use it as your signature. You can
But what does it give you?
It gives you power.
power.
It gives you authority. He was given the ring, gave him authority. You're wearing my ring. In my absence, you the guy. I'm giving you the authority to be me when I'm not here. You're my second in charge.
Vice president.
Right hand, he gave it off his left hand to turn him into his right hand.
Okay. So now we get to the famine, and we get to Joseph seeing his brothers come to Egypt to get food during that what?
During the famine, yeah.
Payback time.
Now they're only 2 years into the famine. We're gonna find out. They got 5 years left. So now, what happens? He says, "Go home and leave who there with him."
Benjamin.
But he said that, but who ended up getting held behind?
They held Judah. They held
No.
Judah back.
No,
The oldest they held back.
they held Simeon.
Simeon, that's what they held.
So watch this. Joseph is the second youngest. Simeon is the second oldest. Remember, it was Reuben and then
right.
him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now he goes back. Now they go back. They get back. Money's still in their pouches. They got food. They're like, whoa, who put this back in our pouches? They're like, uh-oh. We're in trouble now. So they get back. And Simeon is there. And what does Jacob say? Like, man, y'all done, Joseph, I done already lost Joseph. Now you done left my other son back with this guy. Why did y'all even tell him y'all had a brother to come back and get? They said, well, the guy asked us, we standing in front of him with our lives in jeopardy. Would you want us to lie? No. We all the way in Egypt. You want me to, we're not you, Daddy. You were, you stole, you bought your brother's birthright and you stole his blessing.
Basically, I think the reason why they kept Simeon back was he kept Simeon back because he wanted to do to his brothers what the brothers did to him. By holding Simeon back, it was like they gave up him to who? Become a slave. Okay.
But the whole thing is what we're going to see in here.
Now they want Benjamin. Now he wants Benjamin.
Because what wouldn't you? If you're the two youngest ones, who you think you're closest to? He wanted to see. So let's go into here because we're jumping ahead of ourselves. You know your Bible. Now watch this. We're in chapter 44. Okay. Now if we go back to chapter 43, where are they? They're all sitting at the table with Joseph eating. Okay. While they're eating, or maybe after they got done eating, watch what it says in chapter 44. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put every man's grain money in the mouth of the sack. Now remember, they were sent home the first time with food, right? Then they said they ran out of food.
They were given more money.
But that didn't matter. They didn't have no food. And now Jacob is looking at them like, what are y'all doing? We're going to sit here and die. Go back. Now, what did they tell him? We told you the first time, if we go back to get food, who we got to bring with us?
Benjamin.
He said, if we don't bring him back, we ain't getting nothing. Now, you willing to send Benjamin with us now, or you want us to die? Right? Okay, so put my personal cup the silver cup in the mouth of the sack of who? The youngest. So Benjamin is there, right? Send him back, but put my silver cup in the mouth of the youngest one with his grain money. And the steward did as Joseph told him. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys, when they had left the city and were not yet far away. Watch this, y'all. Joseph said to his steward, get up, follow after the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, why have you repaid evil to us for the good paid to you? Is not my Lord's drinking cup and the one which he uses for divination or prophecy or how to foretell? You have done a great and unforgivable wrong in doing this. So he was setting them up to do what? Bring Benjamin back.
Yeah.
You think about it, the cup, his personal cup, and the cloak that he was wearing given to him by his father are one and the same.
Okay.
He did to them what his brothers did to him.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. That's good right there, man. So verse 6, so the steward overtook them and he said these words to them. They said to him, though, why does my Lord speak these things? For it be far from your servants to do such a thing. Please remember the money which we found in the mouths of our sacks, we have brought back to you from the land of Canaan. So they're saying, we brought the money back the first time. Honestly, why would you think we would come back and then steal from the king? That's not us. We're not like that. Now
when they sold their brother into slavery, how much did they get for him? How much didn't they have to pay the Ishmaelites, traders, to take the son, or did they pay the brothers to take him?
Say that again now.
When they had him in the hole in the desert, and they were going to give him to the traders are not going to take him for free. They're going to pay him.
They sold him. Yeah.
That's it. So the money in the sacks are now the same thing as what he was doing to them.
Okay, I see that.
For selling him into slavery.
Okay.
So now he's turning the tables around, reversing the role to teach them.
Okay.
See how they would react.
That's good. That's good.
See if they were going to save their brother Benjamin when they did not save their brother.
That's a good way to look at that. I never looked at it that way.
All
right, watch what it says. Huh?
One of the main points is that when they were dealing with Joseph, they failed to recognize that he was their brother.
Of course, because he disguised himself.
He disguised himself.
All right, let's move on. Far be it from your servants to do such a thing. They said, please remember the money which we found in the mouths of our sacks, we have brought back to you from the land of Canaan. It is likely then that we would steal silver or gold from your master's house. With whomever your servants, your master's cup is found, let him die. And the rest of us will be my Lord's slaves. And the steward said, now let it be, as you say, he with whom the cup is found will be my slave, but the rest of you shall be blameless. Then every man quickly lowered his sack to the ground, and each man opened his sack, confident the cup would not be found among them.
Until they went to the brother and they found it.
The steward searched, beginning with the eldest and ending with the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes in grief, which was customary tearing your clothes, throwing dirt on your head. And each man had loaded his donkey again, and they returned to the city. When Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. Of course, he's still there. He waiting on them. And they fell to the ground before him, signifying worship, right? And signifying humbling themselves before him.
Please don't take baby brother.
Right,
Please,
right.
please don't do that.
They'll kill her.
Joseph spoke harshly to them. What is this thing that you have done? Do you not realize that such a man as I can indeed practice divination and foretell everything you do without outside knowledge of it? So Judah said, what can we say to my Lord? What can we reply? He's like, okay, you got it. Or how can we clear ourselves since God has exposed the sin and guilt of your servants?
They go back to what had happened with their brother beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And now they reflect on that, and now they see the impasse that's going on now. With Benjamin, they don't want it to repeat what had happened in the past.
Not
That's
again.
what
Not
that's
again.
what they were trying. What he was trying to do is get them to tell the truth instead of lying about it,
Mm-hmm.
like they did to Abraham, their father.
Behold, we are my Lord's slaves. The rest of us, well as he with the cup, it is found. But Joseph said, far be it from me that I should do that. But the man in whose hand the cup has been found, he will be my servant. And as for the rest of you,
Go home.
get up and go in peace to your father.
Go home. No.
So say it again, brother. You
No,
believe that
no,
him
not
keeping
that.
Benjamin was what?
An impasse. In other words, by keeping Benjamin, now they were faced with, do we tell another lie like they did the first time,
Or tell the truth.
or tell the truth? And now, what are they faced with? The truth. They come to the realization that they're not going back to their father. They're going to bring back the past to tell to Brazier, and then everything becomes copacetic.
Okay, so they need to go back and tell the truth about what? About what's going on with Benjamin or what happened with Joseph from the beginning?
Joseph wants them to understand that you cannot go back and tell a lie and then relive another lie again through Benjamin. So by telling the truth, which they do, this happened, like I said, this happened before with my brother. We had a brother, his name was Benjamin, and we lost him.
Okay, well, let's go forward and see.
And then they say, because Benjamin, Joseph knew what they were going to do when they sold him before they sold him, because they told, he heard down in the hole what they were going to do.
Right. Okay, so let's go forward and see this. Then Judah approached him and said, oh, my Lord, please let your servant say a word to you in private. And do not let your anger blaze against your servant, for you are equal to Pharaoh, so I speak as if directly to him. My Lord asked his servant, saying, have you a father or brother? We said to my Lord, we have an older father and a younger brother, Benjamin, the child of his old age. Now his brother Joseph is dead, and he alone is left of the two sons born of his mother, and his father loves him. Then you said to your servants, bring him down to me that I may actually see him. But we said to my Lord, the young man cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. Right? He's old, he's probably sickly. If something happens to Benjamin, this is going to kill him. Remember, Jacob had already said, if something happens to this one, you're going to bring my gray hairs and I'm going to the grave. Remember that?
Because they saw their father rip his clothing.
Right, exactly.
And dirt on his head.
But
They don't want to go through that again.
Exactly. So let's see if they tell the truth. This is what I want you to say.
That's what they do.
All right? Because so far, all they said that he was dead. They ain't said nothing about how he died.
Because they haven't realized who they're speaking about.
Okay. So let's see. Let's see even if they tell Joseph what he did, what happened. Let's just see. Hang on. You said to your servants, unless your youngest brother comes with you, you shall not see my face again. So when we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my Lord said. Our father said, go back to Egypt and buy us a little food. But we said we cannot go down to Egypt if our youngest brother is with us. Then we will go down there. For we were sternly told that we cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us, right? Your servant, my father, said to us, you know that my wife Rachel bore me only 2 sons. There was what we talked about earlier. And the one son went out from me and said, surely he is torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. So they lied about that. If you take this one also from me and harm or an accident happened to him, you will bring my gray hair down to Sheol or hell, the grave. All right? In great sorrow. For your servant became security for our young man to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then let me bear the blame before my father. Now, therefore, please let your servant Judah remain here instead of the youth to be a slave to my Lord, and let the young man go home with his brothers. Okay, so they're saying, no, y'all take Judah and let us take Benjamin back. You're gonna kill our father with this, right? How can I go up to my father if the young man is not with me? For fear that I will see the tragedy that would overtake my elderly father if Benjamin does not return with us. So now Joseph has to make a choice, my brothers and sisters, that they don't know he has to make because they don't know who he is.
Mm.
Does Joseph carry out his original plan? Or does he say, no, I better send Benjamin back or I'm going to kill my daddy?
He reveals himself.
All right. So hold that thought right there, brother, because that's exactly what we're getting ready to go into.
And that's basically, if you really think about it, Joseph became born again to his brothers.
Okay, good. Now, let's dig right into exactly what you said. Because the next chapter, 45, what did you say that they did right after this? I mean, what Joseph did right after that? Then Joseph could not control himself any longer in front of all of those who attended him.
Exactly.
And he called out, have everyone leave me. So no man stood there when Joseph revealed himself to his brothers. He was like, enough. All you had to do was tell me that my father was dying.
He wanted, see what it was, is he wanted his brothers to admit to him what they did.
And they did not.
They did not.
So, but here's the thing that I said. All I'm saying is he had to make a choice. Do I carry out? I am the second in charge. I can do whatever I want to in this situation. Am I going to carry out my original plan, or am I going to make a decision that has compassion for my father? Am I going to care about how I feel, or am I going to care about what can happen to my father if I keep my brother? And these are the decisions we have to make every day with our choices and with our authority. Are we going to be selfish, or are we going to think about the whole picture? Because he could have easily said, well, I don't care what's going on with my dad. I was sold into slavery. Me. I want to get out of this what I want to get out of it. That's the point that I'm making. Well, let's see what happens.
Then Joseph could not refrain himself.
Yes, but we have verse 2. Joseph wept aloud, and the Egyptians who had just left him heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard of it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? Pay attention here. He didn't say anything else about anything else. All of the things that he could have said, every point he could have touched about him being, I'm Joseph, I'm the one you sold into slavery, blah, 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 blah. What was the first thing that he thought of after he revealed himself?
He concerned for his father.
All he asked him was, is my father alive? That's the first thing he said. Okay? But his brothers were speechless, for they were stunned and dismayed by the fact that they were in Joseph's presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, please come closer to me. And they approached him, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now he lets them know who he is.
He took off his headdress and the wig.
Okay.
And revealed himself into that.
Good. He asked about his father first, right? Mm-hmm. Now he says, first he says, I'm Joseph. Is my father still alive? Mm-hmm. That was number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, I am Joseph. Let me tell you again. Come on close to me. Yep. I'm Joseph. Now I'm going to let you know I'm Joseph, the one you sold into slavery. Mm-hmm. Let me remind you of that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you that I'm Joseph. Mm-hmm. I'm the Joseph you sold into slavery. Right? Okay? Now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves. Now this is deep right here. Because you sold me here. Yeah, you did do that. For God, he said, don't be angry with yourself because you sold me here. You did it. For God sent me ahead of you to save life and preserve our family. That's the reason why God let it happen. Because God knew about this famine way before y'all foolishness, right?
God knows everything.
Right. For the famine has been in the land for these 2 years, and there are still 5 years in which there will be no plowing and harvesting. God sent me to Egypt ahead of you to preserve you as a remnant on the earth. Why? Because they were the chosen people, right? They were the chosen lineage of God. And to keep you alive by a great escape. So now, watch this. It was not you who sent me here, but God. He used your actions, your foolishness, your jealousy, but he knew way before that I needed to be here. Watch this. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh. Mm-hmm. How was he a father to Pharaoh? Any one of you? Mm-hmm. Because he gave Pharaoh instructions on how to prepare for the famine, right? That was one thing.
Well, he was a soothsayer in question because he had foresight. He was able to interpret dreams.
He was able to interpret dreams, but here's the thing. He gave Pharaoh guidance. What does a father do? Okay. He also gave him wisdom. Mm-hmm. He said, store up at this particular time, so when the famine comes, they will have what?
Have food to eat.
That's wisdom.
Well, it's not just that. It's just that the thing is that they had years of plenty, but in the years of not, they were able to sell all of that grain and make through money given to Pharaoh.
Exactly. But who came up with the idea?
Joseph
That was
did.
Joseph.
Okay. Do we know that Pharaoh could have came up with that? Obviously not. That's why God gave it to him. So he was a father to him.
Pharaoh was lost. He didn't know what to do. Without Joseph, he still would have been lost.
There you go.
And many of his people would have been dead because no one could interpret his dreams.
Exactly. And Lord of all his, so he said, he made me a father to Pharaoh and Lord of all his household and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go to my father and tell him, your son Joseph says this to you. God has made me Lord of Egypt. Come down to me. Do not delay. You shall live in the land of Goshen. Now that's where most of the corn was. You shall live in the land of Goshen.
That's where they became slaves.
The best pasture land of Egypt. But only through the famine now, because remember, they're just there to be saved through the famine. That's not the promised land.
Yeah.
They're just there temporarily.
That's it.
And you shall be close to me, you and your children and your grandchildren, your flocks and your herds, and all you have. There I will provide for you and sustain you. Going back to what I just said. This place is just for you to be sustained right now. It's not your final destination.
Temporary.
So that you and your households and all that are yours may not become impoverished. For there is still 5 years of famine to come. Look, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that I am speaking to you personally in your language and not with an interpreter. So he's saying, nobody other than the Hebrew will be talking to you like this. This is more proof that I am who I am. Now you must tell my father of all my splendor and power in Egypt and of everything that you have seen, and you must hurry and bring my father back down here. Why? Obviously, God was showing him too. You better get your daddy here. He's about to be out of here. Regardless of the family, he's dying. So then he embraced his brother Benjamin's neck and wept. And Benjamin wept on his neck. He kissed all his brothers and wept on them. And afterwards, his brothers talked with him. And so after all of this, they talked. So in other words, he had to make them what? Comfortable about talking.
His jealousy was gone.
Okay? Because now this whole situation have wiped all of that out, right, brother? All the jealousy, all of the...
Yep.
You can only feel about him one way. And that's, you saved us, and you're going to continue to save us. So all them dreams that you had, we get it now.
Mm.
We was jealous about something that saved our lives, didn't we? Because remember, the dreams is what took them over the top. They already hated him.
Yep.
But when he had them dreams, they said, well, this is it. And the opportunity came when he brought his behind out there where they were. Go and feed your brothers, or go find your brothers. And they're like, oh, okay, here comes that dreamer. Come on over here.
Yep.
When the news was heard of Pharaoh's house, that Joseph's brothers came, and pleased Pharaoh and his servants. Now, we're not going to read all of this for the sake of time, but verse 18, he says, I will give you the best of the land, and you will eat the fat, the finest produce of the land. Okay, so Pharaoh is backing Joseph at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please go get your father. Bring your family here.
Well, I think Pharaoh was realizing that he thought himself as being God on earth.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he realized that Joseph's God
Mm-hmm.
is higher than him,
Oh, yeah.
then he realized, hey, I may be God here, but there's
Mhm.
also a God that's higher than me that he also honors.
Come on. Remember, now, just to piggyback on what you said, remember after he interpreted the dream, what did Pharaoh say? Where else is there a man like this in whom the Spirit of God is in?
Exactly.
He recognized when he interpreted the dream that, oh, it's somebody higher than me. I'm Pharaoh, but it's somebody higher than me and all my magicians and everything else. Right?
So where did it go bad?
Cool.
Pharaoh allowed Abraham and all the brothers,
You mean Joseph?
or Joseph and his father, and all the brothers,
Mhm.
that's the 12 tribes of Israel,
Uh-huh.
into Goshen to live there with Pharaoh. Pharaoh would take them under his wing, so to speak. Where does it say what was the Pharaoh that turned them into slavery?
Okay, so you way ahead of us. We only in 44 through 46. I'll give you one answer, then we need to finish this. The Bible says that a Pharaoh arose that did not know Joseph.
Yep.
That's what happened. See, what people have to understand is the Pharaoh, and I didn't know it until I really dug into it and found out. I'm like, who was this Pharaoh? He's shown up in a long time.
Yeah,
but they called every Pharaoh because that's another term for king. So every time it says Pharaoh, it's not the same person.
I'm going to step this a little bit further ahead.
Nah, let's not go too far because we got to get there.
We got two witnesses that are going to appear real short soon.
Mm-hmm.
We are living in the time of Jesus coming back.
Mm-hmm.
It is our generation that's going to witness this. The two witnesses that did not die, that's Moses and who else? Elijah.
So Jesus and Peter and all of them.
Joseph, what God was fearful of when Moses, he didn't want Moses to die. Moses would not go into the promised land because of his fault at Mount Ararat.
Well, he smoked the rock instead of speaking to it.
Once, he did it twice. And human fault. But anyhow, he doubted God and he would not see the promised land. So the reason why it's not that he was fearful that the people are going to take Moses away and praise him as a god, because God knew what they were doing with Joseph after Joseph died. When they carried Joseph's tomb out to be buried into the promised land. And all those worshipers were worshiping Joseph and not God.
That's good.
That's the reason why Moses was taken up by God, like Elijah was.
The new Pharaoh looked upon the people of Israel as numbers. They had outgrown their own.
They were a threat.
Yeah.
And now we look at Joseph.
Hold on, guys. We're going too far. We got to finish this. I got you.
I'm gonna blow your mind here.
We going too far now. But that's good. Let's finish this right here. We way over into probably chapter 50.
Yeah.
All right.
Further than that.
So then, Pharaoh basically lets them know your family is good. Bring them here. They're gonna live good because of the favor that Joseph had with them. Right. Now watch what it says. Verse 21, then the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the journey. Watch this. To each of them, Joseph gave changes of clothes. But to Benjamin, he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of clothes. Now, let's not park it too long, but remember, well, I told you, nothing's going to happen of this. But remember, I told you about favoring people. So now Jacob favored him. Now he's favoring his brother amongst the other brothers. Now here we go again, right? Remember how Jacob favored him. Now he's showing favoritism to his brother. Why would you give him more changes of clothes and then add some silver and stuff with it? Then you already go through jealousy? Okay. All right. So, they go back. They tell Jacob what happened. And this revived him. Like, oh my God, my son is alive. Benjamin is okay. They invited me to come back to Egypt. Oh, wow. This is so now a man that's dying, at least his spirits are being revived.
Probably whipping his sons.
Huh?
Probably whipping his sons for the way, the big lie they made.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. that's the whole thing that I went back to is that coat and how they brought it back to him. It's like, did they like, here, take this off before we eat you? You know what I mean? Like, so anyway, we're in chapter 46. Jacob says this. So Israel, or Jacob, set out with all that he had and came to Beersheba, watch this, where both his father and grandfather had worshiped God. And he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Remember, as we were going through various chapters, how men stopped and did what? Built altars and sacrifices after what? Every time they either experienced or were told about a blessing. Remember that now. Every time so far, and you two haven't followed me since chapter 1, but those who have,
Already been there, already.
yeah, every one of them, as they traveled, as God spoke to them, as they were delivered, as they were blessed, either verbally or physically, they stopped.
When Joshua
Built an altar, and they worshiped.
When Joshua crossed over the river Jordan.
Yes, sir.
When he crossed over, he made each member of the house of each tribe go back into the river, grab a stone, and bring it back onto the dry land on that side, and build what?
Yeah.
An altar.
Yeah. Now watch this. He says, watch what God says to Jacob. I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. Watch this. For I will make your descendants a great nation. Watch this. Watch this word right here. This is a powerful word right here, Charles. There. Not in Canaan. He said, I'm going to make you a great nation in another people's land. In Egypt, I'm going to make you a great nation there. I think a lot of people miss that.
Wherever they went, these promised chosen people, they were given great gifts and praises from God. And
wherever they went,
the land became plenty.
Now watch this. This is going to bring what we've been saying about Joseph to truth. And I will surely bring your people up again, and Joseph will put his hand on your eyes to close them at the time of your death. Why do he even need to mention anything about Joseph putting his hands on his eyes before because Jacob is not making it king. Okay, so he letting you know when you get there with your son, that's it. You're done. Okay. So now when we look at verses 8 on down to verse 27, this talks about everybody who left from Canaan to go to Egypt with Jacob. Yep. It gives you the different sons, their wives, children, so on and so forth. Okay, that's from 8 to 27. Then in 28, verse 28, now Jacob, or Israel, sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph. Why? Because when you travel and you're entering, no matter if you've been there before or not, you better be sending a messenger to let them know you're coming. You don't just walk into people's land. You better go ahead and send some, because
when you travel back then, and when you travel in groups, this had become a large family.
Oh yes.
And going from place to place, that with that many people, the people that are there, if they don't know you, might think that you're coming to invade them.
Right. But watch this. How many people do you think left Canaan at this point? Because this is going to show you how fast they're going to grow and how great their number would be. How many people do you think left Canaan
A great number.
to go to Egypt? Not really.
Well,
Watch. I'm going to tell you how many. Watch this.
12. You got 12 tribes. Their wives, their offspring. I would say of their generation, probably maybe 30, maybe 50.
50 people?
Yeah, maybe 100 around in there.
All right, hold on. Got you. Now, what he said was true too, because they're going to grow a great number when they group. When you grow, you don't walk up in nobody's spot with 100,000 people.
No.
No, when you, as a matter of fact, Charles,
Mm.
they're going to see you way down there because guess what they got? They got towers. They see you coming.
Yes.
And who do they see though? They always see that one person running, don't they?
Mm.
And what do? They send a messenger out to meet them, don't they?
Yeah.
Like go out there and see if it's well.
Yeah.
What happens? Either that message is coming to say we getting ready to come to war, or it's well, we come in peace.
Yeah.
One of the two. All right. But here's the thing. Watch what it says. Verse 26. All the persons who came with Jacob into Egypt, who were his direct descendants, not counting the wives of Jacob or Jacob's sons, were 60 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2. All the persons of the house of Jacob, including Jacob and Joseph and his 2 sons who came into Egypt, were 70.
That wasn't that far off.
It was not far off. Okay.
100.
Now Joseph went. It was a good guess.
Don't forget their flocks and everything else.
Right. We're just talking about people, but yeah, with flocks and everything else. Yeah, it's gonna look like a. And remember, all that they used to see, they could see one person when they're coming. But what did they see when you see the whole?
They saw dust.
Come on, brother. Because they were aware most of the time when they traveling. They're in the desert, coming through the wilderness, and coming to the desert.
All of that dust coming behind the messenger.
Not so much the dust coming, is that when they only see the one person that he didn't carry along.
Right, but when I'm saying when they see the group, because it was said at one time that Hebrew, when they named Abraham Hebrew, they said it could be a person that was one from beyond. He came to Canaan from beyond over in Babylon. Remember, he came from Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
But then the other term is what they were called dust raisers. Okay? All right. Now, verse 30 says, and Israel said to Joseph, let's back up a little bit. Now Jacob, Israel sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to direct him to Goshen, and they came to the land of Goshen. Then Joseph prepared his chariot and went up to meet Israel, his father, in Goshen. And as soon as he presented himself before him, authenticating his identity, he fell on his father's neck and wept on his neck a very long time. And Israel said to Joseph, now let me die in peace, since I have seen your face and know that you are still alive. All right, and so they took them up into Goshen, and watch what Joseph said. Joseph says, don't tell these Egyptians that you shepherds, because they despise shepherds. He says, when they ask you what your occupation is, it says, say that you are keepers of livestock, in order that you may live separately and securely in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is repulsive to Egyptians. So in other words, remember when they were eating with Joseph, where were the Egyptians at? They were at a whole nother table. They couldn't sit over there and eat with the Hebrews.
And they're in their own little buildings.
So here, I wrote some notes. God will prosper you in the midst of people who don't like you, because the fact remains, these people are Hebrews. You despise them in many different ways, but guess what? They're going to come into your land and be greater and prosper more than you in your own land.